Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm seeing the thumbnail, but there we go. Welcome to the show. The Birds come away with a big victory against the New York Giants and roll into the bye week at 6-2, and things seem to be rounding into shape. Couple of things. Obviously, the 6 million pound gorilla in the room is the AJ Brown situation. But I'm going to start off on a much more pleasant note, and then we'll get to that. Maybe even some whiteboard stuff to kind of give you guys an idea of why I believe the run game took off last week. The first thing I want to talk about is Jalen Hurts. I mean, dude is just playing out of his mind right now. If you really stop and think about it, over the last two games, he is sporting a 80.6 QBR. That's pretty darn good. And a 149.9 rating. Wow. He is basically 34 of 43 over the last two games. 505 yards, 7 touchdowns. He is averaging 3.5 touchdowns per game over the last two games. And I believe that he deserves, a lot of credit. At the other end of the spectrum, I'm the type of person, you guys know me, that when we criticize someone and they flip the script, it's only right that we turn around and we give them props. Now, I'm going to give a lot of props today to Kevin Patullo, because dude's been under a lot of heat throughout the first 6 games of the season, and he has done a complete about-face, with the big passing outage as far as Jalen Hurts was concerned against the Minnesota Vikings, 19 for 23. What was it, 326 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And then we flipped the script this week and we rushed for 276 yards with 2 100-yard rushes. Saquon Barkley with the big rip at 65 yards that really set the tone for the day, but he ended the day up 14 carries for 150 yards. And out of nowhere, Tank Bigsby on 9 carries for 104 yards. And Jalen Hurts in the game last week, 4 touchdown passes without A.J. Brown on the field. On the defensive side of the ball, hey, I think the defense is rounding into shape, in my opinion. The bye's coming at a good time, both for the offense and the defense. You get Lane Dickerson, you get Cam Jurgens, you get A.J. Brown back healthy and well, coming out of the bye with 2 weeks of rest and 2 weeks of healing up. You give the coaching staff some time to kind of self-scout a little bit and further make some changes. One of the things that I saw Kevin Patullo do, his play calling and coordination was much better. The plays had rhyme and reason to them. The route combinations in certain situations was much, much better. So I think that we have to give props where props are due. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you're flip-flopping. It just means that the fact is that the offense rather didn't look all that great throughout the first 6 weeks of the season, even though the team went 4-2. But when they flip the script and they start to get it right, you got to give them props for making the adjustments really to what needs to be done. The defense, I think, is kind of turning the corner. I think that Kobe Dean is a main reason why, although I'm not happy with the fact that Jahad Campbell's numbers are beginning to dwindle from week to week. I really believe that Kobe Dean should be the first and second down player. And I think that on third downs, I believe that Jahad Campbell should be inserted back, on the field with Zach Bond. I think he's much better in coverage, much better, versus the pass than Nakobe is. But there's no doubting about the fact that Nakobe Dean has been a big reason why the Eagles defense has trended in a different direction, because they were averaging, giving up right around, going into last week's game. Let me see. They went to last week's game. They were ranked 22nd against the run. They were giving up 127 yards per game, um, going into not this past Sunday, but the Vikings game. Over the last 2 weeks, they're averaging only giving up 78 yards per game on the ground. Nakobe Dean reinserted back into the lineup during that time, and you could see his understanding of where his fit is, where his feel is, his enthusiasm, his leadership, his ability to get the team lined up where it needed to. It's not that I believe that they were having those problems, but we all know that he's the green dot, and he's the guy, for the most part, that has played a major role in the success of the run game. Another huge stat for the defense. Listen, they rank third in the red zone in the National Football League. They're giving up 46% in the red zone. The name of the game for any defense, no matter what the statistics look like, is for them to not allow opponents in the end zone. Last week, they forced the Minnesota Vikings to kick 5 field goals. They come back this week in another big win, and although, the Giants got a garbage touchdown towards the end, they pretty much kept them out of the end zone for the majority of the day as well. Okay. Now, let's address the 6 million pound gorilla in the room, which is one AJ Brown. A lot of talk going on, a lot of debating with the trade deadline coming up, smack dab in the middle of the bye week on November 4th. Whether the Eagles should trade AJ Brown. You've got media people, national media people, talking with Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie at the owners meetings a couple of weeks back. Reports that the Eagles have no intention on trading AJ Brown. And then Diana Rossini asking the question to Jeffrey Lurie, is it completely off the table? And Jeffrey not really giving a firm yes. I think the Eagles would be derelict in their duties to not at least listen, to a blockbuster trade. And I think if you're going to listen to it, then there's the possibility that trade can happen. Don't get me wrong. I do not believe that that the Eagles should trade AJ Brown. But the question I asked the guys in our pre and post game show last week was, do you guys think that AJ Brown is happy? Like, when they had that breakout game against the Minnesota Vikings, AJ had 4 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devontae had 9 catches for 183 yards and a touchdown. You would think that all would be well, but as I watched AJ's mannerisms on the sideline and the expression on his face, it wasn't one of joy. And when you're winning and you're playing this game, the winning brings out the joy. You should be happy about winning games. But if you guys recall, after the Super Bowl, AJ was kind of like, it wasn't really, what I anticipated to be winning the Super Bowl. Really where I get my joy is destroying my opponent, is dominating, the guy that's across from me. Certainly you would think 4 catches for 121 yards would signal domination. But as I looked at his face on the sideline, he still was not satisfied. He still was not happy with the performance. And then Tuesday of last week, he comes out with the tweet, using me, but not using me, opening up another can of worms, having his teammates having to answer for him, having Nick Sirianni have to answer for him. And you guys are fully aware of, my little, brush with AJ early in the year. I really kind of got the sense that I wanted to tweet I really wanted to send out a tweet today, but then I thought better of it because, I didn't want to stir the pot any further than it was already stirred. How apropos would it have been to put out a tweet, um, winning with me, winning without me? I thought about it, but I didn't tweet it out. I think you guys would probably get a little chuckle out of that, and just putting it out there and leaving it out there with no explanation, kind of the way that AJ did, you know, with his tweet last week. Listen, they're a better football team with AJ Brown. There's just no doubt about it. He's an elite level wide receiver. But I think, the longer this situation goes on and the more legs that it continues to grow, um, I believe the worse it is for the chemistry of the football team. Now, there's a lot of haters out there when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, from the media. I believe that Roger Goodell doesn't, has got something against the Eagles and Jeffrey Lurie. You've got Eagles opponents. You had Rich Eisen, today put out a tweet talking about the tush push and the fumble. And I'm like, where's the vitriol and where is the energy? When we got a strip sack on Jackson Dart that was wrongfully turned over and called an incomplete pass. It's clear his arm was backwards. It was clear the ball was knocked out. It was clear that that was a fumble. Okay. But all everybody wants to talk about is the tush push and AJ Brown and the negativity that's going around. It's not just local media, it is national media. There is not another team in the National Football League that's more scrutinized, more talked about, more hated on than the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't understand why. But if we could quiet the noise from within, I believe that this team is trending in a direction, once we get healthy, of potentially going on another run like we did after the bye week last year, you know. But it has to be smooth sailing. Last year, AJ really couldn't say a whole lot because Saquon was, setting a record and doing big things. Yes, Saquon has struggled, but it seems like the run game is back on track. And now, is it going to be, if we start running the football with authority like we ran it last year, is AJ going to blow up in the midst of that? I just feel like, this has to stop on some level, somehow, some way. Um, if you're and I think that AJ could put a lot of this to rest if he would just come out, and make the statement. Okay. Me tweeting and posting stuff on social media has no ulterior meaning. It's just a way for me to vent, how I'm feeling, how I'm dealing with, internal stuff. I want to be a Philadelphia Eagle. I love being a Philadelphia Eagle. I'm happy being a Philadelphia Eagle. I'm in a good place with my quarterback and the rest of my teammates. I wear the C on my chest. So that means that the guys believe in me, believe in my leadership. And I'm not saying that they don't. Okay. But there's a way to put all of this nonsense to rest and hush everybody's mouth so that they stop talking about it and stop creating drama around the team. I think that he needs to do that. He needs to say what it is that he wants. He needs to say how he feels instead of leaving it up to interpretation and these cryptic messages, that really don't settle the situation one way or the other. It just keeps the ball rolling. And I heard somebody say last week that, maybe the Eagles thrive in this arena of chaos. Um, the one thing I do know is they didn't have this arena of chaos last year. You know, the Eagles have got two major conference foes coming up in back-to-back weeks. They got to go to Green Bay and play the Green Bay Packers, who are playing at a pretty darn good clip right now in Lambeau Field on Monday night. Okay. Then they got to turn around and they got the Detroit Lions coming in the following week. Those are two really, really tough games. So they're going to have to be locked and loaded, focused, everything for these two games, because these two games very well are going to have number one seed implications for the tiebreaker, so on and so forth. So they're going to need to be focused. And all of this bickering and all of this, cryptic nonsense that's going on, AJ can shut it all down if he would just come out and make the statement that this is where I want to be. Because The trade talk is just going to continue to get louder and louder and louder, especially during a week where you're not going to see the players, you're not going to talk to the players. The trade deadline is rolling up, so everybody's speculating whether the team will or whether they won't or whether they're contemplating or whether they're entertain some kind of trade package. He could put all that to rest by saying, this is home. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to succeed. This is where I want to win another championship, and then let the chips fall where they may, whether it's him having a great game from week to week, understand that it'll all balance itself out, or whether it's Saquon that's taking the lead, or whether it's Jalen, at the forefront, throwing the ball, running the ball, and handing the ball to Saquon. So I just think that, the Eagles have got to figure out a way to kind of quelch all of this. All right. Let's talk about something that's, a lot more upbeat, the running game for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's amazing because I love to watch film. I love to break down and understand why teams are having success and why teams aren't having success. And as I look back at the Eagles' run game, there was something that was very telling to me. Even before all the injuries began to take place. And I think I'm going to go to the whiteboard to kind of give it, life. Before the game last week, myself and Derek Gunn and Mark Farzetta, we were chatting it up before the pregame show. Make sure you guys tune in, every game day. Right here on the Seth Joyner channel on YouTube. Our pre and post game show is normally an hour and a half before kickoff, and then we got 90 minutes following the game where we break down, what transpired. But this is what I kind of drew up for those guys, for everybody to kind of see. So this is a formation that the Eagles started to use going back, quite a bit, especially, when Grant Calcaterra was hurt and they needed an extra offensive lineman, extra tight end rather. So they started putting Fred Johnson in right here at tight end. And then they had Dallas Goedert here as a wing. And then they took A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and they aligned them here. They started playing Jalen under center a little more with Saquon back here. And this is how defenses, really adjusted to it. The two corners were locked up. You had an end, a tackle, an end. Your two linebackers off the ball. You had your strong safety and your free safety. And what they started to do was they started to walk the free safety down weak, okay, to gain an extra guy here and rotate this safety. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What am I missing? Oh, the other corner here, slot corner. Sorry about that. And they started rotating this safety down and moving this guy back to the middle of the field. Now, the Eagles started getting a little slick because they felt like they could pull it off. But this was the problem that they were facing. When that safety would walk down, the tackle would block out, the guard would block out, and now they're asking the center to reach this tackle. And this tackle was shooting in the backfield, blowing plays up like crazy, okay? And they were actually running the ball this way. I can't tell you how many times, Cam Jurgens or Brett Toth is trying to block this guy, and he's running in the backfield with the tackle, and Saquon's actually running into the guy or having to spin out to try to make some plays. First of all, I'm a numbers guy. And I think when you think in terms of the run game, you've got to understand, the numbers first. If they're going to walk this guy down and you cut the field in half, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3 guys. Okay. So that tells you right now that you're set up for failure if your plan is to run this ball into the weak side, and why even bring Fred Johnson in the game if you're gonna approach it that way. Okay. Now, if you're going to bring the tight end in motion, okay, and block that guy, I don't have a problem with that because now you can block here, you can double here, work up to the linebacker, double here, work up to the linebacker, cut him off, and you're not worried about that corner, okay? But that's not what they were doing. They were trying to run into the numbers. And in my opinion, that's up to Jalen Hurts to be able to recognize, you know, the extra guy walking down in the box and check and run the play back this way. Now you leave this guy unblocked, okay? But the adjustment that they made is they started to run the ball, to the strong side. Now look at what you have. You leave that guy unblocked, you seal him, okay? You're going to work up and double team and get a push here and then work up to the linebacker, okay? You're going to double team, get a push, work up to the linebacker, okay? You're going to double team here, okay? And then turn out and look at now Saquon's got a lane, and if he wants to cut it all the way back, he can cut it all the way back. That's actually what he did on the 65-yard touchdown. Okay. This guy steps up the field. By the time he reacts, Saquon was out the gate. You understand what I'm saying? So I give the Eagles a lot of credit for making the adjustment, but the big thing is, especially when you're lined up in these four-man fronts like this, okay, you have to take advantage of the double teams where you have the double teams. These two right here, you have to move these guys. These guys can't live in your backfield. They just can't. And the only way that happens is you double team him and you move the line of scrimmage. You double team and you move the line of scrimmage, and then you work up to the linebackers on the second level. Okay. That, in a lot of ways, is a lot of the reasons why you saw so much more success by the Philadelphia Eagles in the run game, especially when you put Fred Johnson here. Because against a defensive end, you got a big body on a big body instead of asking a tight end, Dallas Goedert, to block a defensive end. That's a mismatch, okay? It's even better when you think about what you can do in the passing game, okay? Because if they want to bring this extra guy, okay, down in the box, even if you blitz him, okay, Saquon Barkley steps here. He's going to block here. He's going to block here. He's going to set. He's going to block here. He's going to set and block here. You even got the extra guy right here to help on the defensive end. You got numbers. And to go back to the numbers in respect to running the ball to the strong side here, okay? Let's cut the formation in half. He walks down, okay? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys to block 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And these two backside got 1 and 2, and if you block it the right way, he can get up and get the linebacker. So now you have numbers in your favor instead of trying to bang your head against the wall and asking all your guys to block one-on-one, to reach players that are almost impossible for him to reach, walks down, you're going to ask the tackle. Why are you going to ask the tackle to block out on a free safety? Okay? Why are you going to ask this guy to block out on the end and ask him to reach a full 2 gaps over? That kind of stuff just made no sense to me. And even if you're going to do that, cut that guy. You cannot let him get up the field. If he wants to go upfield, you got to cut him down right now. Now, that might not be technically the best way to do it, but it's the most efficient way because at least he's on the ground right here at the line of scrimmage and Saquon can adjust. Whether that means him bouncing outside or picking another gap up in here, at least that can happen. But when that guy gets in the backfield, 2 things happen. He's now cut the field in half, okay? And he's got penetration. The 2 things that destroys running plays any way that you look at it, okay? But I give Kevin Patullo and I give Jeff Stoutland a lot of credit for the adjustments that they made in the run game by double teaming those tackles in the 4-man front. And it's even a better situation against the 5-man front. let's jump back to it one more time and just give them the look of what the 5-man front looks like. Okay, same look: Fred Johnson, Dallas Goedert, Devontae, AJ. You got your end, your tackle, your end. Okay, you got your corner out here, your slot corner here, your other cornerback here, strong safety, free safety. Okay, Jalen under center. Okay, same concept. Well, I told you I was going to give you a 5-man front. So let's, how do you want to do this? Okay, let's walk the safety down, take that guy out, and add a tackle. Okay, so there's your 5-man front. Okay, you still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if you want to block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you can double down, block back, pull, or line up, with a tight end there and run your counter tray. There's so many more things that you can do when you're getting your double teams. And the Eagles have been phenomenal at that, and that's a big part of their running game. All right. Hey, listen, I got Jaws coming up next. We're going to talk about Jalen's good play. I'm curious what his take is about what's going on, with AJ Brown and how he feels about it. As a former quarterback, I'm sure he's had to deal with that at some point in his time, an unsatisfied wide receiver because he's not getting enough balls. But, before we go to break, I want to let you guys know that I want to let you know where I am, what's going on over on YouTube, the Seth Joyner Show on YouTube. Please go over, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody, where I am and what's going on. Every game day, again, like I said, we're on an hour and a half. Myself, Derek Gunn, and Mark Farzetta. We've got our pregame show an hour and a half before game time. We got a lot of Sunday night, Monday night games, Thursday night games, that kind of stuff coming up. So we'll usually be on probably about 45 minutes before in those situations. Then after the game, we're on for 90 minutes to break down and analyze what just transpired. Over on PHL 17 is the Seth Joyner TV show. You'll be able to watch that on Wednesday nights at 11, and over on NBC Sports Philadelphia at 11 on Thursday nights with a couple of re-airs after that. And then, of course, right here every Tuesday night from 7:30 to 8:30 is the Seth Joyner podcast. And for y'all who don't know, I'm on WIP every Monday morning from 9 to 10. Just a little public announcement. The Eagles are on the bye week. That means that I'm going on the bye week. So there will be no podcast next week. The Seth Joyner Show will air next week, but it will not air this week on Wednesday, tomorrow, and Thursday. Just a little heads up. So let's take a quick break, and hopefully when I get back, Jaws is ready to go, and he and I will chop it up for the final 30 minutes of the show. Be back in a sec.
I got this old thing and the bill from the store where I got it. Figured you could beat it with a better deal than one of these big boys.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, at Verizon, anyone can bring in their AT&T or T-Mobile bill, and they'll give you a better deal.
Oh, Verizon was pricey.
No, better deal, best 5G network. Back to the TV. Does it come higher than 8K? Because I don't like to squint.
Ma'am, take your TV and go.
Bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to Verizon for a better deal.
Guess you're not as cool as Verizon.
You don't know that?
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Click in and click out and see if that works.
Now I got you.
All right. All right.
Too much
My friend,
technology.
how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, man, you look good in Kelly Green, man.
I always wear Kelly Green when I'm on your show.
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Jaws, is there a more scrutinized team in the National Football League than the Philadelphia Eagles right now?
Maybe over the past 3 or 4 years, no one's been scrutinized like the Eagles. It's just that's what happens when you're good. You know that, Seth. When you're good, people look to bring you down. It's that simple.
I mean, it's just one thing after another. If it's not the quarterback being good enough to be a franchise quarterback, then it's the wide receiver chirping. And if it ain't the wide receiver chirping, people going on about the tush push and the fact that that was a fumble. And it never
Well,
stops.
it was. Well, it was.
No, it was. It was, but it was also a fumble, when Jackson Dart got hit.
I agree. There's pros and cons in every game. Some go your way, some don't go your way. That was one that went our way, so we take advantage of it.
Okay, so let's address the 6,000-pound gorilla in the room, because as a former quarterback, I just want to ask you: have you ever dealt with diva-ish wide receivers, like the guys are today?
I came close with Mark Clayton down in Miami when I was backing up Dan Marino in '87, '88, and Clayton was one of those guys. He wanted the ball all the time. He was a great player, but just kind of a pain in the butt. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm always open. But all wide receivers are always open. They're always open when you throw the ball left side, and they're on the right side, and everyone runs over. Then they're open. They start doing this. The fans see the guy going doing this. Like, he was wide open. Why did he throw it over there? But Clayton was one of those guys. And on Friday we have our quarterback meeting, like pretty much every team does on Friday. The quarterback meets with the play caller, the head coach, and he goes through the play calling for the game. And it seemed like every Friday when that meeting was over, Don Shula would go, "That Clayton can't play anymore. His ass is out of here. He's such a pain in the ass. He's such a pain in the ass. He drives me crazy. He goes, he won't get one more year out of me by being a good guy, because he's not. He's a good player, but he's a pain in the ass." That was Shula.
The funny thing is, Josh, you're talking about guys saying they're always open. When the guy has a social media handle that says always open, you kind of know you're in a little bit of trouble, don't you?
Oh yeah, you better throw it to him every play then, right?
So listen, all the speculation, I started to do it, but then I thought better of it because my little dust up with him a couple of weeks ago. After the Viking game, he should be happy. He got 4 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tuesday, he comes out and he says, using me, but not using me, period. And I'm like, what the heck, man? What the heck is going on? So today, I kind of felt like, maybe I should put a tweet out that says, winning with me, but winning without me. How apropos might that have been?
That would have went over like a lead balloon.
Well, see, that's why I decided not to. That's why I decided not to do it.
You calm down, Seth. You calm down. I'm glad to hear that.
I just didn't want to stir the pot anymore. But there's so much.
It's a bye week. Let it go. Let's go to the bye week. All right. Let it go.
I hear
a nice calm bye week in Philadelphia.
There's so much speculation going on around, whether my biggest thing is whether the guy's happy or not, because I think when you're winning, you're happiest when you're playing this game. When you're losing, it's a miserable job to have when you're getting your brains beat in week after week after week. So sometimes I wonder whether he's happy, and then that has to transmute over to the question. There's a lot of speculation from Mike Garafolo to Diana Rossini about AJ potentially being drafted, traded, I should say. I'm sorry. Yeah. The trade day is next week on November 4th. Diana Rossini asked Jeffrey Lurie the question, if a team approached you about AJ Brown, would you be open? And Jeffrey really didn't say he's off the blocks, and I think rightfully so, because I think if you're an organization, when you have an opportunity, you have to at least listen to those opportunities, even if you have no intention of, moving forward with it. But clearly he's a better player. The team is better with him than they are without him. But at some point in time, the returns begin to diminish because of how the effects that it has on the team. Your opinion?
Yeah, you probably look back, Seth, and say, what happened in Tennessee? And, obviously we're in Philadelphia. No one knows the facts behind what happened in Tennessee, but they obviously got rid of him. I mean, he was a good player in Tennessee on the verge of becoming a great player. So why did they get rid of him? So there's something there. Something, I don't know what that there is, but there's something there. But I've always felt, and I know, being a teammate of yours, we're taught that football is the consummate team game.
Mm-hmm.
It's about team all the time. For a play to be successful, yeah, AJ might get open, he might beat his man, but 10 other guys have to do their job perfectly as well. And I've always believed that's how you win football games. That's how you win championships. That's how you keep teams together, is by playing as a unit, as a team. And like I mentioned, Mark Duper, and there's been a few other guys along the way that kind of strayed from that. And they want the ball and they bitch about it. But those aren't the guys you eventually win with. Now, we've won with AJ Brown, and we won a Super Bowl with AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's a quality player. He's been paid a lot of money. Now, we all have to have an ego that we want to be great. That's good is the enemy of great, and good is not acceptable if you want to be a Super Bowl football team. And Eagles are a Super Bowl football team. And by the way, I don't see Jeffrey Howie or anyone else trying to get rid of AJ at all. I mean, I know how much they respect him, but there will come a time when it's such a distraction that you have to do something. I don't know if that's now, a year from now, or 2 years from now. He's a great player, and I take it as that. The other stuff is just media noise and online noise and all that. But I'm not around him enough in the locker room. I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of coaches, and I've heard very few negative comments about AJ Brown and his performance when he's on the field at practice, and how locked in he is. So it always surprised me when this stuff comes out, because most of the people that I am in touch with say nothing but good things about him.
Jaws, it's amazing. I now understand the connection between you and Dick, because I had Dick on my TV show a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this same topic. And Dick threw out the most poignant quote that I've heard in a long time. He says, just because a player is a great player and the best player at a position doesn't necessarily mean he's the best player for your team. And I was like, wow. So when you mentioned,
well, that's a great comment. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's why I love that guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why when you said what you said off the cuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can tell these guys were connected, psychologically and mentally.
But it's also different now. These players are different now. I mean, I accept that it's just different than when you and I played. It was a different era, different time. And I played for coaches. I mentioned Don Shula. You mentioned Dick Vermeil. I played for Marty Schottenheimer. Guys that were winning football coaches. In fact, my head coach has won almost 1,000 games in the NFL. 1,000, and include Marty Schottenheimer and that bunch. That's a lot of wins. So those guys knew what the hell they were doing. Now the era is different. The game has changed. I watch you do your X's and O's and all that. I love watching that. That's drilling down. But the game has changed a lot even from that. Hell, you forgot to put 2 more wide receivers on the field, and everyone's coming out 4 and 5 wide now and slinging the ball over the field. But the game has changed, and not only on the field, but it's changed in how you deal with players and the money that they make. And let's not kid ourselves. That has a lot to do with some of the angst some of these players cause. The money.
I hear you. Listen, the other thing that he said, that you mentioned, was the fact that he said there's something in his file, because good teams don't give away great players. He said, so there was something there that the Tennessee Titans decided to move on from him as well. So maybe there's some things, some underlying things that nobody on the outside really understands about AJ.
Here's the thing I love about Howie and Nick as well. They knew something was there, but they had confidence in themselves. I'm talking about Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles organization believed that the culture that they have, they could contain him. And for the most part, he's lived nicely within the culture. Like I said, every once in a while he strays, but I think for the most part, the Eagles knew that there was something in his past that may rear its ugly head.
Do you think, 3 to 4 years later, with the evolution of the roster and some of the more vocal leaders now departed, and then the younger guys having to step up into leadership roles, that maybe some of that culture, I don't want to say that it's waned, but when you lose a guy like Jason Kelsey,
Yep.
and you lose a guy, you start to, you lose Brandon Graham for,
Yep.
a half a season, you lose a Fletcher Cox, is the loss of some of those players, does that embolden some other players to maybe step forward and really show their true colors where they wouldn't necessarily do it when they know that they might be checked?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, guys are going to push to the limit. And I think that all really good teams that are good teams for a long period of time have those quiet leaders. The guy that I think of in Philadelphia, one of the quietest guys on the team was Jerry Sizemore. Jerry Sizemore was an Outland Trophy winner. My left tackle and right tackle, he played either side of the line. A great football player. Didn't say diddly squat. Jerry didn't say anything, but everyone knew Jerry was in charge. He was kind of the locker room cop. And if you got out of line, to go 76 and walking up to your locker going, hey, cut the shit. And that was it. That's it. It's over with. There's a quiet leader. Isn't a guy yelling all day, hey, look at me, and I'm leading the team. They led in a very quiet way. And I think Jason Kelsey was that kind of guy in Philadelphia. He was obviously a robust guy personality-wise, but he was kind of the cop. He was kind of the locker room cop. I'm glad Brandon Graham is back. You're going to get some guys that are the old school guys that know what it takes to win championships, to win Super Bowls. And the cop is back in the locker room. So it might be time to calm down a bit. Not that Elaine Johnson is that kind of guy, the veteran guy. Not that Jalen is, because Jalen's not, Jalen's not an outgoing, rah-rah type leader, but I know the type of leader that he is. He's well respected in that locker room. So, but he's a quiet kind of guy. And that's what's kind of surprising, that he challenges Jalen all the time, which is kind of surprising. Don't challenge the quarterback. You're not getting the ball.
Yeah, I've always said, there's two people you don't mess with on the football team. It's the head coach and it's the quarterback. Everybody else those two guys are off limit. Everybody else is free reign.
Oh, you're right.
Talking about the quarterback, let's talk about Jalen Hurts and how great he's played the last 2 weeks. I looked up some stats on him, Jaws, and it's mind-blowing. His QBR combined over the last 2 weeks is 80.6. That's pretty darn good for a QBR. His rating over the same period is 149.9. Okay. In the last 2 games, he's 34 for 43 for 505 yards. He's averaging 255 yards per game, 7 touchdowns over the last 2 games passing. That's 3.5 touchdowns per game. What more can you ask for from this quarterback? Did everybody?
They did win those last 2 games, right?
Yes.
They did win. So that's the thing. He's a winner, and I love the numbers. There's the last 2 games he's been, and I use the term on the post game show that I do, sensational. Mm-hmm. I can't think of a more proud word to say about a colleague quarterback of mine, that he was sensational. Now, you mentioned the stats, and stats are very, very impressive. But I look at the tape. When I get up Monday morning, I look at the coaching tape, I look at the All-22, and I break the guy down, good, bad, or different, because the eye in the sky does not lie. When you look at every play and break it down, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the one thing, when I look at quarterbacks, and I've been evaluating quarterbacks since I was at ESPN for 28 years at ESPN, breaking down quarterbacks and going to watch quarterbacks on their pro day. I was a wonk for the quarterback position, obviously. So when I watch Jalen, there are 2 things I look at: his face mask. I'll tell you why I learned this from Randall. His face mask and his feet. Because when when Randall and I were teammates, Randall would drop back, and sometimes he would get in that runner's stance of his. He'd have the wide stance. I call it the action figure stance. And his head would drop, and I could see the helmet, the face mask go down. He started looking for a place to run. And that's a no-no in the NFL. Now, he did it for a while until he learned how to play the quarterback position the proper way. Only run when you have to, not because you feel like running. Mm-hmm. But the face mask will tell you something really quick. If they're up and that face mask is looking downfield, you're surveying the defense and you're calm. It's not dropping down looking for a place to run. The second thing I look at is the feet. The feet always tell me about a quarterback, if they're frenetic or they're calm. And if they're calm, you can see the feet calmly moving, not running, moving, set in a position to deliver the football on balance. So when I watch Jalen in the last 2 weeks, and I think he's played really good all season long. But earlier in the season, maybe not as great as he's playing right now. And he's just in a zone right now. Boy, when you're in that zone, man, call pass plays because you know he's going to be hot. But I think the eyes tell me one thing: when that face drops, Look at it. Look at it. When you watch a game, I know everyone's watching the quarterback, so you might as well watch the face mask. If it drops, that's a problem. If his feet are frenetic, that's a problem. Right now, Jalen is calm, cool, and collected. That's why I know he's playing really well. And I don't know if he'll continue like the way he's on right now. You're going to have Green Bay and Detroit coming up, and he'll make up for it in Dallas because we'll kick their ass and we'll go down there. But the first two will be tougher games. But he's playing at an incredibly high level right now. Incredibly high level.
It's amazing that you say that because, I write all my content for my TV show. I got it right here in front of me. I taped it today. And one of the things that I wrote, Jalen looked poised and calm all day from the pocket, even when he had to move within the pocket. It's amazing,
That's absolutely that's a spot on. That's a good way to put it. He's moving to get on balance, to avoid a rush, not dropping the eyes, looking for a place to run. Now that happens occasionally when everything breaks down. You got to look for a place to run. I'm talking about that poise in the pocket, and you nailed, just as you said. He moved to get in a position to deliver the football.
Okay, so we kind of beat Kevin Patullo up for 6 weeks, and then he's kind of flipped the script the last 2 weeks.
No, I don't listen to you guys that are beating Kevin Patullo.
No, hey, listen, I'm just saying.
I got enough arguments, but they think I'm like his brother or something because I've been defending him. And play calling.
Listen,
okay, you go first.
Listen, the only reason that I say it is because, and I say we because I've had reservations. Okay, I haven't beat him up, but he's taken a pretty good beating over the first 6 weeks of the season.
Unjustly.
Unjustly.
I'll tell you why.
I'm one of those people that believe that if you're critical of someone when they're struggling, when they get it right and they turn the corner, then you should give them their props and you should give them credit. So I've been singing his praises because I've watched the last 2 games. I've seen the adjustments. I've seen a greater coordination in the plays, the run and pass plays. I've seen the changes in the routes, to beat zone coverage, even to help Jalen, in his processing. I think he's done a phenomenal job the last 2 weeks. And you may disagree and say, it hasn't been totally him. I get it wasn't him because the offensive line.
I'll agree with you. The last 2 games have been phenomenal, but he wasn't bad. Everyone's burying the guy. There must be something about Philadelphia. They hate the offensive coordinator. Every guy we've had here is they want to run him out of. The minute they lose the game, it's the coordinator's fault, not the quarterback, not the head coach. The offensive coordinator lost the damn game for us. When a play is called, and I use the term, play calling is about probability, not certainty. When a play is called, and by the way, there is coordination between the guys upstairs, the coach at the sideline. I'm sure Nick has a chime in every now and then, and the conversation with your wide receiver and your quarterback between series. So it's not like this autonomy that he calls every play, doesn't listen to anybody. There's input from everyone involved. And I say play calling is about probability, not certainty, because you call a play expecting a certain coverage. How are you going to line up? That's why the play is called. But you don't always get that. The defense changes all the time. They audible the formation. They audible for the sake of audibling. Whatever hint or indicator they may get, they would change their defense. So, okay, a play doesn't work. Quarterback gets sacked. I'll look at the tape and say, damn, A.J. Brown was wide open in that dig route. He didn't throw the ball. That damn offensive coordinator didn't know what he was calling. I said, no. A.J. was wide open. The play call worked. The offensive line missed the block. The quarterback got sacked. So that's coordinator's fault. So that's why I always reserve my judgment. So I look at I hate to make it instant analysis. Of course, everyone's instant analysis. You do post game show, I do a post game show. You want instant analysis. He sucks. He's great. Whatever in between. But I like to reserve my judgment. I at least look at the all 22 and say, if there was a bad play call, I would say horrible call. But there were too many times I saw a missed block, which would have been a big play. A receiver open, Jalen didn't see him. Jalen sprinting out the pocket too soon. Got a little frenetic. So that's not the play caller. That's basically a breakdown in the play. That's not because it was a bad play called. The play didn't work because one player broke down. So I'm not going to call that player out. That won't do me any good, or the player any good. So I found it kind of almost. I would chuckle because everyone's killing Patullo. I said the guy was wide open. The quarterback didn't get the ball to him. He got sacked because the left tackle missed his block. Oh, the offensive coordinator. It's Philadelphia, man. They got to blame somebody.
Well, I'll tell you what, you put it a lot more eloquently than I put it, because I always say this is my contention, Jaws. It's like, I can teach anybody the X's and O's of football, but the truth is, as a coach, you put those X's and O's up on the board and you expect for a play to turn out a certain way. Okay. But what people fail to realize is that when those X's and O's start breathing and moving and lining up places that you don't expect, and they start winning battles, that has a direct reflection on the success or the failure of a play, whether that's offense or defense.
Mhm.
You know, you just never know. Now, sometimes, you know, you got to have great plays by great players to overcome that. But at the end of the day, the other side get paid to play too.
That's
They're
exactly
big,
right.
they're
Yeah,
strong, they're
yeah,
fast, they make
yeah,
plays as well.
yeah. I'll also throw in the fact that, I mentioned that play calling meeting every team has. And all the coaches I played with, you sit in that meeting, you put your foot up on the desk and you're talking about, everyone puts their list together, plays that they like, what they don't like. You get a chance to veto any call. The coach says, hey, the first, third, and 10 plus we get, here's the play I got. You say, hey, Coach Real, I don't like that one. I just don't feel comfortable throwing against that coverage or what I'm going to get. Okay. He takes that for number 1, puts down a number 8. Go on a few more plays. Okay, 2nd and 1 and 3. Here's what I like. Okay, we're going to play action on 2nd and 1 and 3. Here's what we're going to run. Nah, I don't like that. Tell Coach Shula, I don't like that. Marino says, yeah, I don't like it either. We move that one down. So there's input from the quarterback for calling a play. I didn't feel comfortable that week. I wasn't throwing that corner real well. Take the corner out. Put it down 4th or 5th play that we like. So it's not like the autonomy of Kevin Petula. It's the only guy that calls a play. It's not that way. There's input from a lot of people, and you get that chance on Friday to say, I don't like that one. Take it out. I don't feel comfortable because you have to execute as a quarterback. So I just kind of resent it a little bit that people lay the blame on one guy when if you lose, it's blame for everybody. We know that, but one guy should not take the heat.
So help me with this because, you know, I'm kind of old school in my thinking. You
I'm
know,
older school.
I hear you, and you just shed some light on something that maybe I was a little bit incorrect with. You know, when people talked about um, quarterbacks not liking certain things, you know, in the game plan, and the OC moving it down or taking it out, you know, I
Yeah.
can't imagine ever, you know, coming to the sideline, you know, Buddy calls the defense, okay, and I get the signal, and I call timeout. Coach, I just didn't feel comfortable running that. He's like, get your ass in there. You understand what I'm
Because you're
saying?
asked to be on the
So,
bench with Buddy, you know that.
well, but
But
that's what.
but I'll bet you audibled, right? There are times the defense was called. You got a different look. They ran another tight end in there. They went 3 wide and something. But hell, the minute they broke the huddle, you knew something was different. You didn't
Sure,
leave
but
the same defense on.
that was built into the game plan. Like every defense had a check in, and you move to a different formation, and you get a motion. You know, the defense would change. My thing is, I understand that there are some things that quarterbacks are more comfortable running, but as an offensive coordinator, what you do is you put together a game plan based upon what the defense is running and what they do and how they try to attack you. And these set of plays that are in the game plan that's like this. Well, let me get over here. The game plan is like that thick. The playbook is that thick. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's minimized this to this because he believes that what's in the game plan is going to help the team be successful. You know, so in a lot of ways, whether a quarterback likes the play or not, if that play is called, that might be the best play to be running in that certain situation. So I've always felt like it's cool for the OC to ask the quarterback what he likes and what he doesn't like, but at the same time, the quarterback's got to have the ability and the wherewithal to be able to run whatever's called.
No question. And I mean, your first option is to run the play that's called. And I would say that probably happens 90% of the time. There's an audible play comes in late. You may have to change up things. The personnel changed. Between the play coming in and the defense, they go from a 4 down to 3 down and dime backfield. I was, well, you got a bad play call. You don't even need to look at the coach. You're changing that play immediately by yourself because that was the wrong call. It was called before the change was made. So you got to be on your toes. And it's not the only thing that kind of where I think the Eagles need to get better in play calling is we have too many times with the line of scrimmage with that clock going 3,
Yep.
2, and so I and I'm sure they work on speeding it up. Communication is always the key, but that's probably the only area where I can say Petula I think needs to improve. I think for the most part he's done a good job calling plays. The offense has executed for him for the most part. The last 2 weeks, exceptional. But I think the one area they need to improve is getting that play in quicker, giving Jalen more time in the huddle to break things down in his mind, and to give any direction he needs to get. So he got more time at the line of scrimmage to survey the defense.
Charles, I love talking to you, man, because you kill a lot of misnomers, with your knowledge about the game. And, some people were throwing around this idea, okay, that
Oh, come on, bring it.
that they were sending the play in late so that Jalen couldn't change it, and he had to run what was called
Conspiracy theories are in Philadelphia. Look out, man. Look. Everything's calm now. We got 2 wins in a row. We got a bye week. We got Green Bay coming up. All is good in Eagle Land.
Okay, man, we got about 4 minutes left, so I got to jump over on the defensive side of the ball for a minute. How impressed are you with what Vic Fangio is doing with this young group of defensive players?
I'm excited about not how we played, but where we're going to be, because just think back to last year, 2-2 going into the break. Vic finally got a feel for his defense. It was a mediocre defense last year to start the season, end up being number one. People forget that. I think this defense is further along that defense from last year at this point, and I think it's only a matter of time before it all starts coming together, get everybody healthy. We got to find corner number 2 that can shut down. Although I thought Kaylee Ringo played really good against the Giants, so that's a good positive sign that we can get that corner number 2 solved a little bit. But I think this defense has a chance to be really, really, really good.
I really like Keely Ringo. I mean, I wish I could talk to the kid because I give him a pep talk. The only thing in my opinion that he's missing, he's just missing confidence.
You and I both almost said the same word together.
Yeah.
That's the part that's missing.
And Josh, any professional athlete in any sport, the number one element that you must possess is confidence. You almost have to be, a cocky SOB, arrogant on the inside, because nobody likes, the asshole on the outside.
Yep.
But you almost have to embody that, in order for you to do what you do, because it's my manhood and my will against the opponents. And I just think that, if someone could just speak to his confidence, like stop trying to not make the bad play, and just go play and make the play and take the chance. Listen, if you're going to get beat, you're going to get beat. You might as well.
He's going to get beat. Everyone gets beat.
Yes.
Everyone gets beat.
But at least get beat trying to make something happen instead of, being on your heels all the time.
Yeah, I always say this about secondary players. I said the one you have to have is amnesia. You have to have amnesia playing in defense because you're going to get beat, and you got to forget about it. You got to come back very next play. I'm Deion Sanders, man. No, hey, I'm lining up in your face. You're not beating me. You got to have that arrogance, that cockiness, and yeah, you're going to get beat, but just wipe it from your mind and forget about it. Get back to being cocky and confident.
Charles, is it possible that, a bend but don't break mentality defensively kind of puts you in a more passive mindset?
No question about it. But, the one thing I do notice, for my charting this year, we're blitzing about twice as much as we did last year. So I think Vic's trying to figure these guys out. And our edge pass rush has not been good this year. We need to get better at that area. So I think because the edge rush has not been as good as it was, say, a year ago, Vic has now decided to dial up more blitz. He wants to pressure the quarterback. Kind of the foundation fabric of Vic's defense is to get hits on the quarterback and make him start leaning back, throwing off that back foot.
Hey, listen, I love, Jalen Hunt. He's played really well the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
I thought he had 2 sacks last week instead of just 1. But to close out, let's talk about the importance of Nakobe Dean back into the lineup and what he's meant to the run game. The Eagles are giving up 127 yards on the ground. Over the last 2 weeks, they're averaging 78 yards per game rushing.
Well, you get a lead, it always helps, which is I always say that's always a good part. And obviously, the Giants are not a very good football team. I still know how the hell they beat us 3 weeks ago. They got a few really good players. They got a bunch of guys named Joe that aren't good players. They beat us. I'm still ticked off about that one, as you could tell. But it's just the nature of the beast. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But this team is a good team. And I think defensively they will start getting it together. But you did ask a question that won't escape my mind.
Oh, Nakobe Dean.
On Nakobe Dean. Although I thought he just had a mediocre game on Sunday. I thought he missed more tackles than I'm accustomed to watching when I watch him to missing tackles. I'm unaccustomed to that.
Yeah, but he was there.
He was. He can fire his gun now. He can read it. He can attack. But maybe he spoiled me because he's been a really good tackler and missed a couple tackles. Like, damn, come on, Nakobe. I know you're better than that. And he'll probably feel the same way when he watches the tape on Monday. Should have made that play.
All right, Jaws.
You got to bring me back on for more time, man.
No, I know, man. I know. You know what I should have did was just give you the whole hour. We could have probably eaten it up all night long, but I know that my viewers were entertained tonight. You know, in my best "were you not entertained" voice. And listen, man, I always appreciate your time. Say hello to the family, Liz, the kids, and the grandkids.
I will do that, my friend. You're the best.
I'll see you soon.
I'll see you on the golf course.
All righty, my friend. Take care. All right, fellas, that's the show for tonight. And young ladies, if you are so watching, remember, again, there'll be no show next week, no podcast next week. And after the Packers game, I'll see you guys Tuesday night as we chop it up. As always, be good to each other and take care of each other. But most important, make sure you love each other. Have a good week, a good 2 weeks, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
At Mid-Penn Bank, we believe in the power of community. We're not just another bank, we're your bank. We're also your neighbor. For over 150 years, we've been helping dreams come true, financing projects that make a difference locally. From small businesses to community centers, we're here to support what matters most to you, donating time and resources to strengthen the Philadelphia region. And when Philly's favorite superstars need a bank they can trust, they turn to Mid-Penn Bank just like you can. Mid-Penn Bank. Stronger communities, stronger futures. Let's build something great together.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.